How you doing? Mick Thomas here, and this weekend I'm headed to Hartford, Connecticut, where I'll be headlining City Steam Comedy Club. A little different than taking a drive, I decided to take a ferry instead. So let's see what the weekend has in store, shall we? It's freezing. Alright, Hartford, Connecticut, City Steam, show number 1. Let's have some fun, lads.
Kill them all. Oh, you're doing the walk-in. Nice. You're going to kill them tonight, mate.
I beat her, and I went up to my dad. I got my black belt. I said, Dad, did you see me? I got my black belt.
This guy's an international headliner. You want to see him on Gotham Comedy Live Access TV. Give my hand for Mick Thomas, everybody. Mick Thomas.
Clap for Rich. Give Rich a round of applause. And Chris. And Nick. Alright. How are you? Hartford. Good morning. And happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Last night's show was a lot of fun. The crowd were great. Nice crowd. Pretty much sold out. I got two more tonight. But before that, I'm going to go to visit Mark Twain's house. So let's go.
Hello, and welcome to Mark Twain's house.
I'm standing here outside Mark Twain's house. Mark Twain, one of America's beloved authors, probably most famously known for Huckleberry Finn, or Huck Finn. I don't know what you call it. I think it's is it Huckleberry or Huck Finn? Don't know. I think it's Huckleberry Finn. Mark Twain, this is his house in Hartford, Connecticut. He wasn't born here, of course. He was born in 1835. Interesting fact, born in 1835, 2 days after Halley's Comet arrived, and he died in 1910, just 2 days after Halley's Comet arrived again. It's pretty interesting. Oh, by the way, his real name wasn't Mark Twain, it was Samuel Clement. So even back in the 1800s they had stage name, so don't feel too bad. Sinbad. Mark Twain was born in Florida, Missouri, and he was born 2 months premature, and he nearly died. And he was the 6th child, the youngest of 6. And they said he was supposed to die every single day up until he was 7. Like, they expected him to die every single morning until, like, that's exhausting. I'm a parent. Can you imagine going in every single morning for 7 years, just poking your child with a stick to see if they're going to wake up or not? So, yeah, good for him. Good for you, Mark. You survived it. Also, Mark Twain, he was in the Civil War. He fought in the Civil War, actually joined the militia, and despite his family owning slaves, he was actually good friends with Ulysses Grant. All right, if you know who he is, he's the guy who's on the $50 bill. And according to my records, Twain told him, you know, you should be on the 50 to 50s. You should audition for that. So Mark Twain told Ulysses Grant, you know, they're holding auditions for the $50 bill. You should give it a go. So in 1876, he wrote Tom Sawyer, and that's kind of that book that took off. Right, that was his first Star Wars, I guess. You know, after that he was off to the races. But once that book took off, he became, after that he went from Huck Finn and he became one of the most well-known authors in America. He became very wealthy at that stage. But I didn't look this year up, but he invented the, I'll cut to that in a second. Did you see it? All right, so I just showed you the press. He invented that press, and what happened was he invested $300,000 of his own money into this company. He thought it was going to take off, but it didn't. It went bankrupt. He invented this huge thing that kept breaking down. It was 18,000 moving parts, and it broke down a lot. So a lot of they stripped it down and sold it for scrap metal in World War II. They gave it to a school, and he lost everything. He went totally bankrupt. But what he did is when he came back again, when he made his new Star Wars, which I think was Huckleberry Finn. I think he came back after all that one, his franchise. He was able to. He got his fortune back, and what he did, which a lot of people don't do, was he paid back all his creditors. I think one of the reasons why he paid off all his debt was I think he felt very guilty because of how racist he was in his books. Right? I mean, look at his characters in Huckleberry Finn. I think he was a very lazy writer, right? He had N-word Jim. We know what color he was. Injun Joe, who was a Native American. I think he just called people what they were, right? I think if I'd been in the book, I would have been called Mick. Fun fact for you 50 Shades of Grey fans out there, ladies. Mark Twain was ahead of the game. He actually wrote a porno, a dirty story. It was called 1600, and it was about some guy having sex with Queen Elizabeth. So I think he's gone a long way from slaves on a riverboat to BDSM with the Queen. So in 1901, Mark Twain passed away from polio or pneumonia or whatever people died from back then. But all joking aside, he's one of America's, the world's, most popular novelists. So go check his stuff out. And so I've had a lot of fun learning about Mark Twain today. I hope you did too. And now, I used to do this thing as a kid called, in Ireland we call it thunder and lightning. Over here you call it ding dong ditch. I've never done this to a famous person's house before. So I'm gonna are you ready? Alright folks, had a fun day, a historical day. I hope you all learned something. But for now, I got 2 shows, City Steam. Let's be having you, Hartford.
Field trip, Jesus Christ. He could have had a late model SUV by now. Now the only thing I could give to him of worth is my Netflix password. That's the only.
Well, folks, that was my weekend in Hartford, Connecticut. I had 3 fantastic shows. Thanks to everybody that came out. 3 sold out shows. Had a great time. A lot of fun up here. I'll be back soon. Thanks again for Hartford, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you again. Take care.